tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
What's going on, AfterBuzzers? Welcome to the 5th episode of Host Highlights. I'm your host, Olivia Gabaree, and tonight, the host that's joining me is Alexis.
Hello, everyone.
Hey. So what people may not know is not only are you a host, but you're an engineer here as well.
Yes, I am.
So you work behind the scenes and make all the shows happen.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been with AfterBuzz?
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. I think after this Christmas it'll be 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
So you started off in the house, not even in the studio, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Aside from that, what do you think the biggest evolution of AfterBuzz has been?
Oh wow, I think the biggest evolution is obviously the amount of hosts that we've had here, the amount of shows that we can put on now. I mean, before we had just 4 studios, and then maybe we can squeeze in another person, kind of like where we are right now. Mm-hmm. But I feel like now that we have so much, not a better location, but the fact that we are more equipped in this location, we can do a lot more. There's a lot more little segments like the show and other things that I think it evolved better that way. And also because of the fact that now we have like a little area for like guests and stuff, instead of them just kind of hanging around the house with the dogs. Now they have kind of like a section in the back where they can like not have to deal with people, reacting to TV shows and stuff. They can just be in a quiet place.
Right.
I love that about that.
Did you always want to be on camera? Like, how did you first get
No.
involved?
No, I did not want to be on camera at first. I remember, my first year, there was a show that was missing a host that I used to watch all the time. Mm-hmm. And Phil was like, why don't you do it? Phil Svitek, who pretty much runs this whole show. And he's like, you should do it. And I was like, no, that's fine. I'm cool right behind the camera. He's like, no, you gotta do it. I have this it's not a rational fear, but the fact that I do not like being on camera. And I was like, I'm never gonna do it.
A lot of people would be scared of that.
And I was like, I'm not gonna do it. And Phil's like, no, I think you should try it. So I did one episode on the Castle After Show back in the day, and people liked the fact that I was fangirling out about this show. And they were like, oh, you should come back. And I was like, okay, I'll try this one show and we'll see what happens. And like a year later, I was doing like 8 after shows at once. So it was more along the lines of I got finally comfortable in my own skin, and I found really good co-hosts to keep me, not in check, but be able to let out my fangirl, and it wasn't really awkward.
Exactly. It's like a sense of comfort, and that's what I love about AfterBuzz as well. We all have a common goal here, and we're all like one big family, so it's easy to interact on camera. It's just like you're talking to a friend. Yeah. But, so did you start off as an engineer?
Yeah. I remember getting interviewed, and they didn't really tell me what I was doing. They were like, oh, we might need like a PA or something. I was like, okay, cool. And I went in, and Daryl was standing there, which was for Black Hollywood Live, but they didn't tell me they needed somebody for Black Hollywood Live at first. And he was like, oh, so what are you into? And I rattled off the list of things that I'm into and what I want to talk about if I was hired here and my worth ethic and everything. They're like, yeah, you're hired. That's fine. And I was like, wait, like right now? And they're like, yep, show up on Monday. And I was
Jump
like,
in.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what are you into in the television world?
Oh, boy. We have, like, all night, right? No, so pretty much I noticed that I definitely love crime shows. So Castle was the first one. So I love, like, SVU, Law and Order, like, that kind of stuff. And then kind of breaching into superhero stuff and video game stuff, if you could not clearly tell. Because I think at first I was a little too afraid to let my nerdy flag fly at first. I was like, oh, let's just pick, like, super easy shows that people understand or have seen because they're just on, cable. And then eventually, Phil told me, he's like, if you want to do, Japanese animation shows, go for it. I know a group that would love to do that. So it's pretty much just that nerd circle of everything. So TV, movies, and video games. So it's just kind of like all in there.
I know you've done so many shows here, but
way too many.
What shows are currently running right now?
A lot of my shows just ended. So we had Voltron, which was a Netflix show from the 80s TV show back in the day. And they just revamped it, and it's called Legendary Defender now. And then we have Robots in Disguise that was running for a little bit, which it's Transformers, but for kids. And we actually got to go to the Hasbro company and actually get to like talk to the voice actors. They gave us a bunch of toys so that we can give away for charity. It was really cool. I love that experience. That was their series finale. Like they're not making any more of those, which is unfortunate. Lethal Weapon is still going. If you're a fan of the movies, this TV show is pretty much exactly the same, just in every week instead of that one movie. And I think Supernatural. Supernatural is like the longest running sci-fi CW show that's currently running right now. It's about two brothers who are hunting monsters.
Ooh.
So, and they've been doing it for 13 seasons now.
How many seasons have you been doing the after show?
3? So pretty much the entire time I've been here.
I'm like 13 seasons.
No.
Damn.
No. I don't think even AfterBuzz has been around
No,
that long,
definitely
so,
not.
Yeah.
I know that's great that you get experience here, as in you get to go on set and you get to meet people who actually work on the show.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I creeped on your social media a little bit.
Stop it.
And I noticed that you got some fan art, didn't you? Tell me a little bit about that.
My favorite fan art that I love was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was me holding a cup of coffee with a different animated character, and that was actually from Voltron. And it was a lady who plays this princess on the show, and I got to meet her in person. And so I talked about how the fact that there is a lack of princesses that look like me as a person of color. So the fact that we have a princess who's also fighting aliens just in space and kicking butt all the time, and the fact that she's a person of color is huge. And I talked about that on the show. The voice actress said that she loved what I had to say because she is also a person of color who's playing this princess. And she says, I'm really glad that I can actually reach out to people like you and maybe little girls who can now look at Princess Allura, which is her character name, and go, oh, she looks like me, mommy, and kind of go from there. So someone really loved that we did that, so they drew us having coffee together, because I've always wanted to meet Princess Allura. Yeah. So, yeah, especially because I think in the original cartoon, I think she's like a white blonde lady. Right. So they changed it up for this season. So I was like,
wow.
Yay.
And that's so cool that, you know, you develop this, like, not even, I mean, yes, a fan base, but you just have relationships with people that you typically would probably never even cross paths with.
No, and it's so crazy now because I remember I think I was engineering a soap opera, or we have a soap opera block during the Sunday after shows. And I remember we had a meet and greet, and I was like, no one's gonna know who I am. I'm just some lady in the booth. And like people were like, oh, it's Alexis, and like ran over to me, and I was just like, oh, I don't even watch. Okay. And like they gave me hugs, and they're like, let's take pictures. And now they like, anytime I'm like sick and I like put something on Twitter, they're like, oh, do you want us to send you something? And I'm like, oh my god, you guys are too nice. Yeah. But yeah, and I love to see it as, especially working at AfterBuzz, I feel like, even though they are fans of the show and they're fans of us, I feel like they're more like supporters. So I usually go like, hey, supporters of the show or whatever, instead of calling them fans, because I feel like without them, we wouldn't have AfterBuzz.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You know, you need somebody to watch.
Right? And also, like, be able to fan out with you, but also just, like, support the show. Especially, like, when the show's about to be canceled. Obviously, you want to, like, start up a stink about it. So these guys are the perfect, guys and gals are the ones that should be helping you out.
Because we're all super fans here, right? So, super fan to super fan. It's nice to just have that communication.
Yeah, it's such a great family setting here, whether you're working here or just meeting everybody and knowing the show that you love.
I definitely agree. So, aside from working in the studio, you also, you know, take AfterBuzz outside the studio, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your experiences there.
I mean, I know that the fact that I would never think that I was going to be on camera working here, because I just wanted to, like, be able to work the TriCaster and then go from there. The fact that now that I can actually go to cons and stuff like that, whether I'm helping with cameras and red carpet stuff, I can now bring it and actually interview people there, or they end up coming to my YouTube channel and then we can talk there. And I've been interviewed by a few podcasts because they were watching the AfterBuzz after shows. Yeah, like we did, I think there's 1, 2, 3 different podcasts, I think this week, who I got to interview me. One was for Voltron, one is for being a mixed chicks in media, and then the other one is for when I think The Punisher just started. So stuff like that. I can't go into exactly when those will be coming out, but yes, but they will be. It was just really cool that I finally got to have all these connections who wanted to talk to me about specific things, and then now we're branching out and bringing more people either from AfterBuzz or just networking, which is awesome. And I never had that before. I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna sit back here in my booth.
Pressing buttons.
Yeah, just press buttons. But now I actually get to like go out, and a lot of the guests and actors that I end up interviewing, I end up finding them sometimes at these cons. Just we're walking, and they'll just be like, "Hey, Alexis," and I'm like, "I watch you on my television. Well, I watch you on my computer," and I'm like, "It's so weird." Like there was an actor, his name's Ricky Whittle from The 100. He's a CW show, and he was at Comic-Con last year, and he saw me. He goes, "Hey, I saw that you got engaged. Congratulations! Give me a hug." And I was like, and he just like gave me a hug and like swung me around. And of course, all the bodyguards like, "Who is this random person?" And he's like, "You gotta show me pictures when you guys get married." And like he messaged me like right when I got married. Yeah. Same thing with like this guy named Kari Payton, who's on Walking Dead, who's also done a bunch of stuff. He said congratulations. He's like, you know, I've had voice actors give me like champagne, and like it's crazy how much AfterBuzz has like changed my life from being like this little introvert in a box to now being able to go out and actually talk to these people and see them and work on projects with them.
I know, that's right. That's like insane. Imagine seeing somebody on your television that you watch every single week, and then here they are being like, "Hey, congrats, girl!" Like they know you by name and everything.
And they like, I was even in like a costume at a con, and someone recognized me immediately who was an actor of a different show and was like, "Hey, you're from AfterBuzz, right, Alexis? Oh my God, I loved your spiel on my character and this, and I'm like, okay, that's great. Picture? Sure, all right. That's weird.
Such a compliment because they just really respect you as not only a host, but just as a fan, and they respect your opinion enough to watch you every week, you know what I mean?
It's scary. But also, I mean, like, it's scary just because the fact is, like, ooh, if I trashed on your character, I'm so sorry.
But it gets, like, sticky.
But I love it because, like, the writers or the directors will talk about how much they're like, oh, I loved your input there, or, oh, I would have never thought to put that prediction together with that. That was really innovative, and I love when I get to hear that from either other shows that I'm not even part of, when they call in and stuff like that. That was the one thing I loved about being staff. When you get to take the calls or meet the guests and they were in awe of us or any show that we do here, and they're like, you guys do some really crazy stuff, or like, I love your input or anything like that. And I think that's the one thing I love that I take to other podcasts or just in life in general. I'm just like, people are always watching, and you should portray yourself in a certain way and be happy that people are actually listening to what you have to say.
100%. So outside of AfterBuzz, I know you have many other passions, but before we got on camera, we were specifically talking about a different type of con. So here with us, you do WonderCon and Comic-Con, but you mentioned a newer type of con. Can you tell me about that?
So ClexaCon is a brand new con that just came out. It's pretty much an LGBTQ, but for queer women, but pretty much just queer representation in media, but definitely, at least for when we started, it was definitely queer women in media and their representation. There was, I think it was either last year or the year before, there was a slew of lesbian characters that were being killed in TV. And a lot of writers and fans and everything were like, this is insane, why is this happening? Because, I mean, obviously if it happened once, you're like, okay, that really sucks. Right. But then another show like 2 weeks later, and then another show like a month later, you're just like, this can't be correct. And the fact that you find out that there was way more other characters that you probably didn't even notice, and just doing the statistics was huge. So ClexaCon was a organization that was like, we need to bring this up. And they were able to get those same actors who played lesbian characters and had them come in and talk about that. Writers, camera women, artists. Like, so pretty much we all just huddled into this tiny, not tiny, but like a part of like the Flamingo, and we just kind of like talked. And it was the most, I don't even know the word for it, but the fact that when I was in there, the outside world didn't exist to us. It was the fact that it was just a bunch of strong women who just wanted to talk about their passions. And we all just connected. It felt like we've known each other for years. And there was a bunch of panels that like told us about, like, you know, if you need help and if you want to come out safely or anything like that, if you want to network and do something together and be able to work with a bunch of women that you can feel, you know, safe and trustworthy. And then I loved it because even after that, even though we didn't know anybody at this con, when we all left together into like the real world, we were like, wow, the world sucks. And then coming back, it was just like, oh, we can just close the doors and everything's all happy. And it was really, really cool. And I got to go with Yale and Joelle, who were also AfterBuzzers here, who were also queer women, and everybody knew who we were, which was insane. And because of this, because Joelle has really good representation of it on her shows. Yale talks about it all the time, which I know you've interviewed her before. And then obviously the 100, which I was talking about, I was the only person of color, and since I'm bisexual, that was, I used that term, well, not term, but I used my experiences a lot for that lesbian character who got killed off. And so the con was like, please come back or come to our con and talk about it. And that's pretty much what it was. We actually had a whole panel, I think it was about 8 different women who were women of color who were all queer, and they all did different things, fashion, media, stuff like that. And we talked for 2 hours. And nobody even noticed at the time was like kind of going. So.
Well, because when you're passionate about something, it's just like
and there was discussions. There wasn't really like a Q&A part, which most of the time when you go to a panel, there's like a line of people who do a Q&A. No, we were just throwing out questions and like what we can do to be better in our community and be better as women and support each other and this and this. There was cards being exchanged, phone numbers. Like it was like a networking thing, but it was mostly just having conversations with people.
Right.
And that's what I love about that con. And they're coming back in April in Vegas, I think in the same place, which you can look up all that information.
Right.
It is definitely, and they're open. Like if you want to bring your man or a bunch of your dude friends to like just see what it's all about, plenty of time, and they're totally open to that. Just know that that's technically what that con is for. It's technically for representation of queer women in media.
That's awesome. It's I feel like, platforms like this, and especially with the internet now, it's so easy to find people who stand for similar things as you do, or just have similar passions.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, especially with what's happening and with women now, it's really great to see an organization just bring a bunch of us together and just go, hey, you're safe here, just be yourself and don't worry about us judging you or anybody. This is your place to work. And they even had a section that was just for like if you want quiet time, you want to write something with another person or write a script or write a story or whatever. And people knew, like, they didn't have to like go over and go, oh, what is that? They're like, oh, people are working, and just kind of like walked away. It was really cool.
It's like a respectful environment.
Yeah, it was insane. It was like it was an experience I will never forget, one, and two, that I will cherish forever. It was insane.
That's great. I never would have heard of something like that if
right?
it wasn't for you, so spread the word.
I'm trying.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so great to have you in studio, and I'm sure we'll all look out for you on Lethal Weapon and the hundreds of other shows that you do.
Just follow me on Twitter.
So where can we follow you?
Oh, you guys can find me all over social media at atorres890. That's ATORRES 890. I have my YouTube channel and all my stuff because I vlog here and there with my husband and I. And we talk about, we react and do TV stuff as well. And same thing with Instagram and stuff. Like, everything's pretty much the same. So definitely want to talk to you guys about anything nerdy. I'm down.
Well, thank you. And once again, I'm Olivia Gabaree. You can hit me up at @real_O_G. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.